Hey everybody, Chef James here, out in my apiary today. For those of you who don't know, an apiary is another word for a bee yard. So these are all beehives behind me that I keep. Since we're talking specifically about butterflies, but I wanted to broaden that a little bit and talk about pollinators in general and why they're so important to us to survive, and specifically important to cooks like myself. So what is pollen, right? So pollen is that powdery substance inside of flowers that you see in the spring and in the summer. And without spreading that pollen from flower to flower, the plant wouldn't be able to produce seeds or fruit. And that's specifically important for us because without pollinators to spread the pollen from plant to plant, we wouldn't have most of the vegetables and seeds that we eat on a regular basis. So all the spices that we eat, all the fruit that we eat, most of the vegetables that we eat, we wouldn't have that without pollinators. And it's not just butterflies that pollinate, right? So also the honeybees are big pollinators, and all of the different kinds of bees are big pollinators, and some animals are pollinators. Even bats eat some parts of plants or the flowers, and then they kind of spread the pollen on their way to other plants and flowers. So I'm gonna show you a little close-up video here of my bees. They're taking in pollen from all the flowers that are blossoming right now and all the trees that are in bloom. So I'll show you, you could see on the backs of their legs, if you see the pollen piled up where they're bringing it into the hive. And so we talked about why it's so important that we have pollinators and that we protect pollinators. So what I like to do, especially because I like to use a lot of honey in my cooking, I like to keep these bees, and it's kind of a give and take relationship that we have, because I give them a safe place to live, and then in return they give me honey. And it's important to do this year after year, because every year it's getting harder for the honeybees to survive in the wild, because there's so many invasive species and pests that take over their colonies, and it's just really hard for them to survive with the change in climate and everything. So I like to have this give and take relationship with the bees to make sure that they're going to be around to help me pollinate my plants and give me honey, and then I'm here to help them out. So it's that nice give and take relationship. So people have been keeping bees for thousands of years. The earliest evidence of beekeeping was actually in Egypt in 2400 BC. So that long ago. There's record that people have been not just harvesting honey from wild bees, but actually keeping them. And bees will pretty much take up residence in any hole or open space that they feel is safe enough. So people all around the world do it differently, in baskets, in clay, all kinds of different vessels. But modern day we use these wooden boxes because it keeps it structured and organized and just easy to maintain. So we touched a little bit on pollen and pollinators and why they're so important, and I talked a little bit about honey. So now I'm going to take you home and I'm going to show you how to make these pollinator cookies, and I'll talk to you more about that when I get home. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to make palmier cookies. And palmier is French for palm tree, because the cookies kind of look like a palm tree, so they named them after that. So this is a classic French cookie, very easy to make because it's made with puff pastry. So I just bought frozen puff pastry. You could buy it pretty much at any grocery store in the frozen aisle. So easily, traditionally done with cinnamon and sugar, laminated between these layers of puff pastry, and then rolled up, cut, and then laid out and baked. So I'm going to show you how to do this now from the frozen puff pastry. You have to let the puff pastry thaw out all the way in the refrigerator, and then once it's thawed but still cold, you'll take it out of the refrigerator, and there should be 2 sheets in a package. So we're just going to fold those open and then remove the papers that are in between. And they leave kind of a crease here. So we're just going to lightly roll those out. And you don't need any flour to do this. They come pre-floured. And the only thing we're going to roll with is the cinnamon sugar combination that we made over here. And like I said, they're traditionally made with cinnamon and sugar, but but I'm going to add a little honey into the mix because that'll be what makes them our pollinator cookies. And I'm calling them a pollinator cookie because to me, I think they look like butterfly wings when they're done. So we'll make these look like butterfly wings, and then they'll have the honey in them, so they'll represent 2 of our pollinators that we learned about. So with this, we're just going to roll it out in the cinnamon sugar. And you're not rolling it hard, you're just kind of pressing the sugar into it. So just lightly roll it over, just to kind of press the sugar into the dough. And then flip it and do the same thing. And you can be generous with the sugar. It's not exactly a healthy product here, it's pretty much all sugar and butter. But it's very delicious and very traditional. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. And then I'm going to add some honey, which is not traditional like I said, but this is what puts our little spin on it here and makes them pollinator cookies. So I'm just drizzling that honey in there, and then I'm going to spread it out with a brush just a little bit. It'll spread for me. You could like heat it up a little bit in the microwave if it's not going to spread for you too easily, but I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to drizzle it in there. Just get a light drizzle in there. Alright, now I'm going to press these 2 sheets together. And we're going to roll these together so that they stick. And then we'll throw some more sugar down because like I said, we're only rolling with sugar. We don't have to add any more flour. Alright, I'm going to add another little drizzle of honey, and then we're going to roll it up. Alright, and now to make this fold, I'll spin it this way. We're just going to roll each side in, make 2 folds. Right? And then 2 more folds. And then they'll meet in the middle. We'll leave a little bit of a gap so that you can fold it the rest of the way over like this. And then we'll just lightly press that together. And that'll be about it. So we're gonna throw this in the refrigerator to rest for 15 minutes so that it's not too soft to cut. And then we're just going to slice it up, dip it in some more sugar, and bake it. And then that sugar is going to caramelize in the oven, and it's going to be a nice caramelized sugar cookie kind of thing. So I'll rest this in the refrigerator and we'll be right back. Alright, so we have our dough out of the refrigerator now. It's nice and firm. It's set up pretty well so that we'll be able to cut it easier. So now I'm just going to slice it. Okay, we're going to make our slices like that. And then we're just going to dip them in our excess cinnamon sugar here. And we'll line those up on a tray to go in the oven. And I got this multicolored decorating sugar here so we can make them kind of look more like colorful, like a butterfly wing. So I'm just going to finish lining these up, and then I'll make my different color wings, and then I'm going to bake these in the oven at 400 degrees for 12 minutes, and then I'm going to flip them really fast after that 12 minutes and then finish them for another 4 to 7 minutes, and then they'll come out and they'll be ready to go. So we'll be right back and show you the finished product. Alright, so here they are. This is our finished product here. I think they look like butterfly wings. What do you guys think? They say palm trees, but I think they look like butterfly wings. That's what it made me think of when I first saw them, so I thought it was fitting for this. So maybe you guys think. Play around with it at home. See what you come up with.